Okay, we are live and we are going to kick things off in about 1 minute when the clock strikes 10:30 for me Israel time or 3:30 Eastern time. So if you're watching this right now, stay tuned. We're ready to rock and roll. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is now 3:30, so I'm going to assume that we're on. My name is Dovi Halpern. Have a little presentation for you on the mystical meaning behind the Jewish star. And just a quick introduction on myself. So a few years back, I had the crazy idea to write a metal song inspired by how David HaMelech's writings go in the book of Tehillim, starting with some heavy lamenting, and as David goes through crazy stuff in his life, he has some real calling out to God and anger and emotions and all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, always kind of ends with a positive takeaway of emunah, of faith. And I had the idea to kind of replicate that structure with some dark words, an expression of the human experience, an expression of screaming to God, with a chorus that is, in a sense, validating, and just like in Tehillim, an expression of faith at the end of the day. So, in a sense, what I aim to do with my music, with the music of Hashem's warrior, is just a little journey through the darkness that all of us feel inside from time to time, with a hopefully uplifting, meaningful, and motivating message and takeaway in validation of those feelings, and validation of who we are as a human being, as a Jew, as an intentional manifestation of Hashem's will in this world. Okay, so we are live, and just to quickly shout out before I jump in, this is a graphic to my album, my EP, 4 original songs with 1 remix. It's called Dvekis in the Darkness, Anthem of a Spiritual Search. Notably, you see the flaming Jewish star in the background, and leading us in today's presentation, which my theory that we're going to walk through in this presentation is, the theory is that the Jewish star is Hashem's signet upon reality. It's sketchy when you think about and look in and research where the Jewish star comes from. When you look at the Jewish people historically, what should the symbol of Judaism be? It should probably be the menorah. From what we know of the Jewish battles, etc., if there was any likely imagery on shields, on armor back in the day, it would have been a menorah. But today, the Jewish star, from the most Hasidic shul to the most Reformed temple, to Jews who have nothing to do at all with Judaism spiritually, but identify by wearing a Jewish star as a proud Jew, by maybe even getting a tattoo of a Jewish star. Where does this come from? And so my theory, which we're going to dive into now, is that through understanding more about who Hashem is and who we are and what this universe is that we live in, that we can have a better understanding of what the Jewish star is and what the true meaning of it is, as a Jew, as a human being, as a creation of Hashem. Okay, let's jump in. Quick shout out to The Secret Life of God. By the way, a lot of the ideas that I draw from are from this book, The Secret Life of God by Rabbi David Aaron. Okay, just a quick shout out there if you've never heard of this book. Really life-changing stuff. Here we go. So, Meet the Jewish God is what I initially called this presentation, where when somebody thinks of God, especially from the Jewish point of view, we have that song, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere, common Jewish kids song. We understand two aspects of Hashem. That Hashem is both transcendent above this world. He is high up in the heavens beyond. He is also, Hashem is here, Hashem is there. Hashem is also immanent within this world. Okay? The two basic understandings of how a person can understand God in general. Now, how this expresses itself within religious philosophies is we have monotheism, which traditionally just represents God being that, being up there. Now, most of those who are burnt out by religion, with negative connotations of religion, are those that have issues with monotheism, issues with an idea that while I'm down here going through whatever I'm going through, there's somebody bigger than me and better than me that's up there looking down on me and calling the shots. So that is kind of where monotheism creeps into our society and within our psyche in perhaps negative connotations of, hey, there's a God up there and I'm down here. Okay? Whereas where pantheism, understanding immanence, where does that manifest itself within religious philosophy? That is the idea of not just God is here, God is there, God is everywhere, like the Jewish song goes, but everything here is God. I am God. You are God. This desk is God. This phone is God. So the idea that everything in this world is collectively and individually God. So the immediate distinction here is that Judaism doesn't quite fully embrace both of them respectively, but a little bit of each. And we'll develop these ideas further, and you'll see kind of where this is going. So these are two concepts brought up in the book that I just referenced, The Secret Life of God by Rabbi David Aaron, where he talks about the ideas of static perfection and dynamic perfection. What is static perfection? Well, when you think of the word perfect and think of perhaps a being that embodies all that is perfect, embodies all that is perfection, there's actually two ways of looking at it. There is the ability to be perfect, aka static perfection, being in a state of being perfection. And there's another way of looking at it, because that in itself is kind of limited in that if a being is just being perfect, it is limited in that it's not becoming perfect. So dynamic perfection is the aspect of perfection that is becoming perfect. Okay? So where Judaism understands from a transcendent God, from a more monotheistic picture of a God up there, we have an understanding that the transcendent aspect of Hashem is existent in a completely static state of perfection, of just pure being perfect. However, there is still this world that Hashem is immanent within. And the idea of dynamic perfection is the idea that Hashem literally, through this world, is expressing himself and expressing his perfection through us. Not just through us, but through our free will and our choices. So it's like now we actually, do I do a good deed? Do I not do a good deed? Do I choose to connect spiritually? Do I choose to disconnect from reality? These are the ideas of dynamic perfection. These are the ideas of Hashem being manifest in this world. I'm getting a text that the words are not 100% clear, so I'm going to read them out loud, make sure. Okay, so on the right column, we have the ideas of a transcendent God, a monotheistic God, and a God who just is perfect. Okay, we also have the ideas on the right column of an immanent God, of a pantheistic God, of a God of dynamic perfection, a God whose godliness is expressed through becoming perfect, aka through free will, through choosing perfection. And that is the world that we live in. And so actually, when we do a mitzvah, when we choose to do a good deed, when we choose to connect with each other, make a meaningful connection with Hashem, with our family, with our friends, with anybody, that is an expression of being in connection, of living Hashem into this world, being godly in a sense, and expressing godliness by doing mitzvah in this world. Okay, now in the next two ones, if you can't see clearly on the left side, so one quick just recap is we have the transcendent God, two ways of understanding God. A transcendent God who is above this world. Monotheism understands a God to be up there. We also understand that aspect of God to be in a state of pure static perfection. And on the bottom of the column here, the next concept is what we call this is Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The Jewish term we call Hashem. What does Hashem mean, by the way? Literally means Hashem, the name. Literal translation. Why? Because throughout the Chumash, Tanakh, the Torah, Hashem is referred to in many different ways, by many different names, to connote many different attributes and ways of manifesting himself within the world, of expressing himself within the world. So we call him Hashem. It's a general collective term of understanding that Hashem expresses himself through the names that he interacts with the world with. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the left column, is what we refer to when we say transcendent God, perfect God who just is. And in the Shemona Esrei, the Amidah, we have the Bracha of Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh. Kadesh actually literally means separate, as an alternative translation to holy. And we have that understanding of holy, meaning having a degree of just separateness, aboveness, and it kind of fitting the entire mold here of a just transcendent HaKadosh, the Holy One, blessed is He. And on the right column, we have the Shekhinah. Shekhinah being a word probably most people maybe have heard here and there, but the Shekhinah literally meaning Hashem's divine manifestation. There you go. The divine manifestation within this world. And just to round up what the right column again, we have the alternate understanding of God in not just his transcendence, but also his immanence, which is the side of God that is embraced by religions that fall under the category of pantheism, which is, from a Jewish perspective, the idea that we are the expression of God in this world through our choices to manifest perfection in choosing to do the right thing and choosing to do mitzvot. And that is what we refer to, and that aspect of Hashem is referred to as the Shekhinah, Hashem's immanent presence, Hashem's glory as manifest through us and our choices and our cleaving to godliness. Okay? And the more recognizable mainstream aspects and expressions in our day-to-day in which we make these references to God, these two kind of dual references to the transcendent and the immanent. When we say transcendent, there's the word Adonai is a word we only say when we're praying, when we're learning Torah, when we're teaching Torah. Aside from that, we stay away from saying that word. The word, the Shem Adnut, the word of the language of Adon, which literally means master. Adonai literally is translated to mean my master. And so again, kind of going back to the monotheistic issue that a lot of people have with religion of understanding, hey, there's a God up there while I'm down here going through life. And whereas at a more healthy perspective, the Jewish understanding is to have, when we look at the name for Hashem, that is written when we say Adonai. It actually is not spelled out that way. It is spelled out Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, which is referred to as the Tetragrammaton, aka the ultimate name of God, aka the name of God that is actually an acronym. Those letters are an acronym for Haya, Hove, and Yihya, which means was, is, and will be. So it is a name which itself connotes Hashem's transcendence above time, above the physical laws of our universe. And we don't even, it's like we don't have the chutzpah to say that word. This is just an interpretation. We don't have the chutzpah to say that word because we don't believe we could possibly truly understand that which is completely beyond the scope and spectrum of reality that we exist within. So we are just like when you have the number 3.987. What do? You round it up to 4. When we say Adonai, we are rounding up. I can't understand that which is beyond my realm of existence. Okay, but what I can understand is within society there is an idea of a master and a servant. We're going to use that as a rounding up parallel example of me being able to understand who Hashem is on high while I am down here. The best rounding up I can do is to express God. When I look at this word, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, the Tetragrammaton, I don't say it, but I round up to say, okay, this is me in a way humbling myself to understand that I'm not I am not within the transcendent realm, but there is a God, Hashem, in the transcendent realm, to which I'm likened to a servant. Okay? The next part, that's the left column. Now the right column is the Shem Elokut, which is the name of Elokim, which we say. Okay? Very interesting is that this name of God, Bereshis bara Elokim, this is the name in the first verse of Genesis, first pasuk of Bereshis, in which Hashem creates the universe. We have the name of God, of Hashem, Elokim, which is a plural word phonetically. Okay? How Hashem expresses himself within this world is like through a prism, just like you have this infinite white light that can shine through a prism, and on the flip side is expressed in a multiplicity of a spectrum of colors. That is what Elokim is. In a way, think of it like a spectrum of Hashem now manifesting his perfect oneness, his transcendent static perfection through this spectrum of Elokim, through his name of Elokim, now being manifest in our world when we look around, in me, in you, in this cup, in this book, in this chair I'm sitting in. And everything we see, this plurality, this separation, this idea that I am separate than you, and that we are not all aspects of a collective soul. When I open my eyes, that's what I see. That is the reality of space and time within which we live, and that is the reality within which the name of Elokim, Hashem's name, is expressed. And so just to round that concept up again, we have the idea of Hashem, which is embraced by pantheistic religions of this world being godly. The Jewish understanding is no, not everything in this world is God. We are individual expressions of God's will. And the Shem Elokut, the Shem of Elokim, as a plural word, it connotes how Hashem literally manifests the idea of plurality out of the white, infinite light of his ultimate oneness. Okay? So now we're going to move on. And achad, those are the last things I just say. It is just the idea of one and one, and you'll understand. We'll move on to in 1 second. Why did I write echad and echad? Both were echad just means one in English, if you're not familiar. But basically, there is a duality in how one can understand God, and we're going to take this one step further now. Okay, now we're going to understand the Jewish point of view which I'm going to walk through each of these again, is meeting in the middle. Okay? The Jewish point of view is on the second line in the middle. It says panentheism. If you're in front of a computer, I encourage you to go ahead and Google this word. Judaism, I think I quite clearly demonstrated, I hope, is not pure. Judaism is not really pure monotheism. The idea of one God that is up there and down here, that is part of what we believe. And P.S., pantheism, the idea that like this world is godly, that's part of what we believe. But if you look up panentheism, not pantheism, panentheism, it is the idea that of a God who both transcends this world while paradoxically interpenetrating the world itself. This is also a word that I learned in The Secret Life of God, great book, is the idea of Judaism. This is the idea of paradox, which is what we're going to continue to learn and dive into here, which is the whole idea of the Jewish mindset is to truly live in a state of paradox. In a world that says just do it, if it feels good, do it. We have an idea, no, we have a timeless code of morality, of spirituality that says how we should react in certain situations, despite how I feel, despite what others say I should do, despite how society thinks I should act. Okay? So we're already kind of cleaving to a sense of paradox, of stepping beyond that which is natural, that which is, and so kind of going to the third column, what is kind of that line between that group between static perfection and dynamic perfection? I use the word absolute perfection. Maybe you could come up with something that is it more succinctly combines the two, but I think it's absolute perfection. It's the static aspect, the being aspect of God, of God's perfection, and the dynamic aspect, the becoming aspect of God's perfection. That is what we believe in as Jews. We believe in an absolutely perfect God in all aspects. Now here's where it starts to get even cooler. Okay? HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shekhinah, more obscure than the other names, the Adonai and Elohim, names of Hashem. But why those are specifically interesting is on a Jewish mystical, from a Jewish mystical point of view, there is a strong tradition that you'll probably find in almost any siddur of the verse L'Shem Yichud Kudsha Brichu Ushchinte. It's literally a mantra. What is L'Shem Yichud Kudsha Brichu Ushchinte? It is literally a mantra that means L'Shem Yichud, for the sake of the unification of Kudsha Brichu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ushchinte, and the Shekhinah. So literally, we say this before we make a blessing, before we do a mitzvah. It is a intention. Now we're going back to intention, okay, of being a manifestation of God's intention. What we're doing now is aligning our intentions with God's intention for how he wants us to be. And be what? Be a manifestation of paradox. Be a manifestation of both transcendence, of Hashem's transcendence and immanence, literally marrying the two. Marrying the two through our actions and our choosing to do good in the face, choose light in the face of darkness. So, moving on one step further, right? Yeah, so the name, again, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, Yud K, Vav K, it is the confluence, the beyond space and time aspect of, again, the master and servant, as well as the idea of just like nature and Elohim and multiplicity being godness itself, godly itself. We have the idea of Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, of was, is, and will be, both being both kind of connoting, okay, being, was, is, he is here, but he also was, will be, he's also in a sense beyond realms of nowness being really the only realm of reality that exists, because, right, tomorrow is only a theoretical idea. When we really think about it, all we have is ever now, yet Hashem is there right now. Hashem is in the past right now. All we ever have is right now. And the last line, being echad and achad, In the middle, I write the word ahava. Why? Okay, because I think to tie this all together, we have this understanding of a duality, of two units of understanding of God's presence. The numerical value for echad is 13. Bring them together, you have the numerical value of 26. 26 is both the numerical value of the Tetragrammaton, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the timeless name of God. It is also the numerical value of ahava and love. And here we see what is the purpose of Hashem's world. Boom, the Jewish star, baby. The fusion between the up triangle and the down triangle, the transcendent and the immanent, the static perfection, the dynamic perfection. Kutshabrichu Shrinte. What does ahava mean? Love. The purpose of this world is to choose the paradox, which is love, which is the paradox of having two opposites to come together to create something greater. Okay, I hope I demonstrated this well, and I hope this was meaningful. I'm going to leave off here with just a quick endorsement. If you like this teaching, if you like this stuff, please follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. Instagram, my tag is @JewishMetal. Facebook also is facebook.com/JewishMetal. But again, my name is Dovi Halpern. Google Hashem's Warrior. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, really everything. I also have podcasts out there. And stay tuned for, this is really my first stepping out there to teach some Torah, and have some other pretty cool trippy stuff on the docket too. So make sure, if you're interested in this type of stuff, please follow me. And before I let you go, I'm going to attempt right now to, since we're doing a screen share, just dive right into a single from my album. I'm going to screen share a music video with you, which I hope you enjoy. And just to kind of, if you're not familiar with my music, give you a sense of what I'm all about, with the idea of just, let's say, having uncomfortable conversations and facing up to uncomfortable emotions in the spirit of creating harmony between the opposites, between the light and the darkness within me, and cleaving to God despite the darkness that I experience in life and that we all experience in life. And without further ado, here we go. But this is 920. thank you again, everybody. That was Not My Suicide, song number 4 on my album Dveikus in the Darkness. Really hope you enjoyed today, and please do reach out to me with any feedback at Jewish Metal, preferably on Instagram or Facebook. JEWISHMETAL at Jewish Metal on both Instagram and Facebook. Have a great rest of the festival, and I hope you enjoyed the class today. Thanks.